Let's see what both these players do. Jumping into game number 1 now between FanTaSy and soO. Down here in the bottom right in the red, our Terran player, he is
Dead Pixels FanTaSy.
He's very handsome.
Yeah, he is.
Good on him. Up here in the top left, we have the Zerg player.
SK Telecom T1 soO.
soO.
He's very handsome.
Earlier, we were in a chat with actually Wolf, our partner, our caster over at Pro League and SSL, and he meant to type soon, but what came out in the autocorrect was soO.
That's a fantastic story, Valdez. Thank you for sharing that one.
I just wanted to make everybody sure everybody knew about that.
That was
good.
I'm sure everyone is very happy you shared that one.
I think the main reason that happened is because we talk about soO all the time in our chats.
Do we?
Yeah,
I don't know if we do. I think you might be just making that up.
No, man. Talk about StarCraft day in, day out. It's the only thing we do with our lives. You guys don't get to see the full picture, but
you guys essentially do. You're looking at it right now. Let's have a look at this match stat, Valdez. Speak it to me. What does that say?
Well, versus Zerg, it seems like FanTaSy overall is doing pretty well. Over 60%.
soO doing a bit better. It looked like he had 72%, I believe.
No, he was in the 50s, I think.
Oh, huh. I don't know what I was looking at then. Doesn't matter. Look at this. We are seeing a very early pull once again from these Zergs. 15 pull from soO. You're maybe going to try and sneak some links around the map and go for the deny on that SCV for this command center down in the natural. So I think he does know that it will be a Reaper opening. Welcome to the GSL.
Said something about T1. FanTaSy used to be on SKT1, and soO is
game
currently
done
on
right.
T1. I actually love the commercials we get here, but over time it just becomes, I don't know how I can put this, it's pretty unbearable. You hear it over and over
well, you
and
call
over.
it, I believe it's called tedious.
Yeah, tedious
that
is probably a better word.
Perfect word.
A little
for
bit
it.
less negative, you know?
Sure. These lings, how are they going to sneak just by?
Oh!
Just, and oh, this could do a lot of work. He does see this command center go down. FanTaSy's going to see the timing on the hatchery. Does he want to turn around, or is he simply going to try and poke the main?
Well, he's got a second Reaper coming out here.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. He's going to keep this one at home, no doubt. Maybe look for those lings.
He's going to have to micro 2 Reapers here, though. Those lings actually just stay back.
Yeah, well, I think the Overlord saw the Reaper, the second Reaper, so he's like, oh.
And we even got a third Reaper coming out, so there's pretty much no chance those lings are going to get any damage done, especially without speed. So
yeah. 3 Reapers, okay. Pretty heavy investment, no doubt. Going to invest a lot into the Hellions as well. Oh, Reapers found the lings. So soO's pretty much going to sack them at this point. There's no real way of saving them either. But unfortunately for him, he let the one of the natural go to the Queen. Big mistake there.
Well, he was migrating at 2 places at the same time. Kind of hard to keep up with sometimes, even for the best StarCraft players in the world.
No excuse, Valdez. No excuse whatsoever. And look at this. Third CC going down for FanTaSy, so he is going to go to that very greedy sort of play that you see from heavy Reaper Hellions. I'm sure soO is kind of expecting this.
Yeah.
And there's a starport to follow things up.
Gets the scout regardless, just to confirm.
Now, I wonder if soO is expecting mech from this, because the mech possibility is definitely there for now. You want to keep that Overlord hanging around. Usually when you see multiple Reapers, it gives you such an opening for your Overlord to kind of sit in the base, because you got to use that barracks, you know, to get a lot of add-ons, the reactor, the tech lab for the starport. You have a lot of time to scatter it all out. Really try and figure out exactly what they have planned. Though you're going to have to come in a little bit later to see exactly what the tech choice is going to be for the mid-game.
Looks like that's what he's trying to do. He's actually coming from both sides with 2 Overlords.
It's such a critical thing to scout, because if you do not scout it, you can essentially just lose the game for whenever the Terran decides to move out. If it's going to be mech or is it going to be bio, it's so important for the Zerg to have the right tech on the way. Otherwise, it's nearly impossible to come back. And look at this. Double Hellion run by into the natural. I don't know how much it's actually going to find. I don't think you guys are actually seeing it. There you go.
Yeah.
Not really finding anything at all. 2 drones for 2 Hellions. Not really worth it.
Yeah, 2 more are going to come in here. 2 more actually on the way. Seems like FanTaSy trying out that innovation style. I think FanTaSy also likes to do this as well. Just put on some heavy pressure. But he's coming in like 1 at a time or 2 at a time. He's just losing these units.
Yeah, not finding too much. You know, if they all came in as 4, he would have one-shotted a lot of drones.
Yeah.
He did get 5 kills that time, or was it 3 more on the 2?
We got 2 more factories on the way. It's going to be mech out of FanTaSy.
Okay, mech play. You know, it's kind of surprising that he did veto Overgrowth.
Yeah.
That kind of makes me wonder, why did you do that?
Yeah. That's actually a map that Hack loves to play mech on a lot of the time.
Sky High would go on mech on that all day, every day as well, you know. And look at this. Oh, we might see some real damage this time.
1 more could do a lot of damage. Maybe 1 more, no.
Damn, 7 kills. Reaper in the main found 1 too.
And he's just continuously sending 2 at a time. And he just keeps on making them. It's just like a never-ending. It's like
funny?
Swarm Host. It's like the locusts keep coming.
The fact that it's actually still working is the most scary thing of all, I think. It's like, maybe you should have made it a little bit more of a SimCity so they can't run past.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's definitely a weak SimCity.
Yeah.
I'd give that like a 3 out of 10.
That's not even a
like
SimCity. That's not even a SimCity.
That's like 1 Evo chamber.
I don't even know what you'd call it. It's like open ground, the way you build the SimCity.
Yeah. He's finally beginning to add some more buildings there.
I don't even know what you'd call it. I came up with the worst way to describe it. It's open ground where you will build stuff. Oh. I am off my game today, Valdez. My wordsmithery is not there.
It's all right. We'll get it back.
We'll get there.
We'll do our best.
All right. So nice creep spread onto that 3rd base. So FanTaSy's expansion going to be delayed for quite some time. Surprisingly, that Viking didn't go there first, you know, try and clear that out, or even a Marine.
Yeah. Seems like he just didn't notice. Our observer actually pointing that out a little bit earlier. You're saying, hey, he doesn't see that Overlord. Do very nicely, like you say, going to delay that. Seems like Thor's first here out of FanTaSy just wants to be careful against any kind of area units. The mutas can easily swoop in.
Yeah, that
do
is
some damage if
definitely
you're
the correct choice.
not paying attention.
Yeah. You really need to go Thor's first up unless you know for sure that it's going to be a roach opening.
Yeah.
And he did scout the roach run, but he kind of knows. He knows what's up. And these Hellions might find a lot of drones in the 3rd base. Got a few shots off before these mutas kill everything.
Drone's going to try to fight straight up. He only loses 4. Delays some mining time, but at the end of the day, 4 Hellions for 4 drones.
Not really worth it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going to be the Thor Banshee sort of build. I like this build a lot. It's kind of the new meta of mech. Don't see many tanks added until a little bit later.
Yeah.
You just get a lot of Banshees on the map, a lot of Thors. You shut down the mutas, and the Banshees shut down the roaches until a little bit later when those tanks come up.
Was it Sky High who made this pretty popular?
I would think so. Sky High has been the one Terran more than anyone else that has had a lot of success against Zerg with mech, and he's been doing that heavy Banshee sort of style as well.
This is the most afraid Hellion I've ever seen, just running away forever.
Yeah, well, he's going to run into death sooner or later.
Goes down.
Down he goes. Infestation Pit, Hydralisk 10, just finishing up. So we should see pretty quick hive from this. That must be the plan that soO has. soO's had a lot of experience against mech in recent times and not much success. And that was in the last patch, as you were saying, just before Valdez. So it's even harder than when he played last time.
Yeah. Let's see what he can do. Like you said, he's putting up that hive now. Maybe the answer for Zergs is just to, I guess, go Ultras. Maybe just try to fight on the ground.
Well, Ultras are good to a point. It depends how many tanks are out, how many Thors are out, or Banshees. I mean, all these things are pretty damn good against Ultras as well. So it's hard to find the right sort of composition. Maybe you can go for a surprise Broodlord tech, because if there's not enough Vikings out, you might just find that money engagement before they do come out. You know, really the Terran can counter just about any sort of composition the Zerg will go with the mech army, but it's just about having that right mech army at the right time. And it's up to Zerg to kind of surprise the Terran and go for these tech switches in the late game when they do have that superior economy and superior bank.
Seems like FanTaSy actually preparing for this a little bit early, and he even gets the scan on the hive We see FanTaSy putting down an extra starport, and he finally begins to add Vikings into the mix. Definitely going to be what he wants to fight up against the Broodlords if soO goes for it.
Yeah, and you know what? They're even fantastic against Vipers, which is also very important. You want to have enough Vikings so you can one-shot Vipers before they try and throw down the Blinding Clouds or get the Abducts. So either way, they're very useful.
Greater Spire on the way.
Yep, going to be that Broodlord tech. And first Viper on the way as well. It's kind of the same philosophy in a way that you'd have against the Protoss. You know, you go for Roach Hydra into Viper, get that Broodlords a little bit later, so you're kind of buying time, trying to do some damage with this Roach Hydra. You kind of foregoed any sort of Roach timing after the Mutas in the early game. Mutas were just there to kind of deflect Hellions more than anything else. And then he just played super greedy from there, and he is going straight for that 5th base as well in the top right. Finally seeing some more Hellion run-bys, but not finding much luck. The creep spread is just simply way too good at this point.
I'm sure FanTaSy remembers the games that, I think it was soO up against Yoda.
Where he just
may have been Sky High, where just multiple Blue Flame Hellions over and over and over just destroyed and decimated soO's economy, and soO just had no answer for it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. soO was handled them very badly, actually. He lost like most of his drones after a big engagement. I'm sure we're going to see the same sort of thing from FanTaSy after he does have that big fight, when the armies have kind of whittled down a bit and Hellions can get on the map. He's trying to find his way in, but he's just not finding it.
Seems like for now, FanTaSy doesn't really want to fight just yet. He wants to clear up this creep for his fort base in the middle, try to put down a planetary.
Wow, taking a bit of damage there, actually.
soO has to be so careful about how he engages this. He knows that FanTaSy wants to move out to that fort base, so it looks like he wants to go for a bit of a counterattack at the back rocks.
2 tanks are in position, unfortunately. So I don't think these Hydras are going to find too much. Sorry, make that 3 tanks. And yeah, he's got to actually get rid of a lot of creep before he can comfortably move out in the map and start dealing with these expansions. FanTaSy definitely with the more advantageous sort of composition at this point as well. Probably wants to get a Raven out so he can, you know, deal with these creep tumors without having to scan every time. And also, you know, the utility behind them, very important as well. Here we go, big engagement.
Oh, really nice Blinding Clouds in the first 3 tanks. And on the back tanks as well, there's some more tanks in the back.
Oh, wow.
soO's got a huge amount of Roach Hydra on the ground. He's just trying to fight this straight up.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty ugly for FanTaSy by the end of all things. 3 tanks in the back have done a lot of damage to this Roach Hydra, but it's not going to be enough.
Is he just going to kill FanTaSy right now?
He's just certainly going to reset the tank count, which in itself is such a huge, tremendous blow to FanTaSy. 1 tank remains. 2 more actually just finished up, sieging up. He's going to deflect him for now.
He just traded so well against a maxed out mech ball.
He did, and guess what? We're going to see that Broodlord switch now. He's still going to go for the Roach Hydra behind it. And very important scan. Did it catch the Greater Spire? I don't think it did.
I don't think it did, but he's definitely going to keep that in mind. He definitely knows that's a possibility for soO right now, especially seeing him trade out his entire army. There's that switch. 7 Broodlords coming in here for soO.
Oh, he must have actually seen it. Yeah, he definitely saw it. I couldn't find where the Greater Spire was exactly, but it is, you know, hidden away in the natural just a little bit. So he is making 3 Vikings at a time. He should have the anti-air for it, and here we go. This is the bane of soO right here.
We saw him make all of his drones into spine crawlers. He's like, no, we're not doing this again.
So he's going to certainly do it to this 3rd base. They're lining up for him. Gets 5. Not too bad. But look at that bank. You know, soO can afford it.
Broodlord's now pushing forward. How many Vikings do we have now on the map?
Currently we're sitting at about 9, but 3 are making at all times, so it's going to get pretty high pretty quick. The anti-air for soO is kind of lacking when it comes to Corruptor, which is really what you want against Vikings like this. You want something to buffer, and Hydras just aren't going to buffer, especially if there's tanks sieged up as well.
Now look at this. He's not able to get those Hydras in position. Already 2 free Broodlords.
This is the problem right here, you know. Vikings are such a hard counter to Broodlords at this point. Unless you have like a pretty heavy air army with them to kind of take the shots and let the Broodlords do the damage.
Yeah.
Like if he had 10 Corruptors with this army right now, he could be tanking shots and the Broodlords would just be peppering these tanks with non-stop Broodlings, and they'd have the space to do so, but currently they're just getting one-shotted, and he has to move back, so bit of a compositional mistake from soO.
Yeah, he did put down that Ultra Den. He may want to transition into that, maybe like force FanTaSy into a huge air army with a ton of Vikings and not that many Banshees, and then just make a big switch into a ground army, you know, just go straight up Roach Hydra with some Ultras in the front to tank.
Indeed. Ultra is going to be interesting sort of tech switch here. I mean, with this many tanks and Thors out already, and if we see more Banshee production, it could get pretty ugly. Banshees are probably the one thing missing from this army right now that he might want to start investing in. But he's got to make sure he makes the right choice when it comes to composition. Very important for both sides to be choosing very smartly what they want to make.
Yeah. It is so hard for soO right now to break this ball, especially with this many Vikings out. He can't get the blinding clouds that he got in that first fight.
Yeah.
Nowhere near. As long as soO, or rather FanTaSy, has got those Vikings in position, it is going to be so much harder for soO to engage this time.
He definitely has to be on point every point of the way. Like, these Vikings have to be waiting for them. Look at this. Couple of Abducts, but he's going to lose 2 Vipers for it, so I don't think it's worth it.
No.
He's going to have to make more.
Yep. There we go. 3 more on the way. And we already see FanTaSy beginning to add in some more Banshees.
Yeah,
I think he's seen like there's no more Broodlords, not that big of a Corruptor army to support this, and maybe he's saying, hey, you're switching. You're not committing to this tech.
Let's think about it. What's the only other thing he could do? Ultralisk. There's nothing else he can do from this point. There's no Swarm Host to, you know, force him to make more tanks. He can make tanks if he wants to. I mean, they're going to be just as efficient against these Ultras. It's all going to come down to some very important blinding clouds when these Ultras come into play as well.
Yeah. Beginning to see the plight of Zergs after the recent changes to the Swarmos. I'm sure a lot of people are watching this and saying, let's see how one of the best Korean Zergs in the world does it. How does he deal with mech? And I'm really curious about it as well. What is he going to do from this position?
It's so hard to think of a great solution when this Death Ball gets up and running, when they're sitting on at least 4 bases, so they have the economy behind it to max out and to, you know, repopulate the army when they trade.
Yeah.
It's a horrifying thing. Like, when you think about it as a Zerg player, and we have seen a lot of matches in the past in recent times as well, Zergs are still trying to look for the answer. They just don't have one. They're constantly trading out massive banks and not really finding the damage they need to reset the army. We are seeing some more Abducts on Vikings, but he's running into siege tanks right now.
And he loses 2 more Vipers and a bunch of his ground army. I guess it frees up some supply to make 3 more Ultras, but...
Sure, I mean, that's one thing at the very least.
At the same time, this mech Terran, he's got 5 bases about to be up here. He's going to have a planetary once that creep finally recedes, and he's got like a giant missile turret ring over that 4th base too. How are you ever going to break this as the Zerg? Do you just wait it out and try to play for like...
I think he goes for very like hardcore sort of blinding clouds and all the tanks and rushes in with the Ultras like this. Here we go. And there they are. There's the blinding clouds on at least the front tanks. Brulor's not really fighting too much either. The Vikings are cleaning everything up.
Bunch of Ultras at the back of the Hydras here. Oh my god.
This is not good. He might want to turn around here, and there we go. He does. Oh man, he should have gone on for at least 2 ways. He does have that other side as well to run in from.
And now he's making 9 Ultras. You know, soO does have an immense bank here. He's got so much left over even after making 9 Ultras and 2 Vipers. But, you know, is he ever going to break the Terran? That's the question.
He did kind of do a lot of damage to the tank count at the very least. Still a lot of tanks in position, especially at this bottom 5th base.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that was the 4th actually. Not going to find a way in. It's way too hard with these positions.
And FanTaSy, he's like, okay, you're not switching out of Ultras. Now I begin my Banshee parade.
Banshee flock.
Yeah, the flock is
The
here.
squadron.
He's got Vikings to, you know, protect it there. He's got a bunch more tanks on the way too. And soon enough, the composition that soO's going for is just going to be obsolete. He's not really going to do much damage unless he gets like a surround with his Ultras somehow.
Even if he does, he's going to have to deal with the Banshee somehow, and I don't see how. Here we go again, looking for the blinding clouds.
Blinding clouds are pretty decent on the front tanks. There's a bunch of tanks in the back now. Trying to get a repair on that CC. Planetary doing a decent amount of damage, but this is still a lot of Zerg.
Still a lot of Zerg. He's going to definitely clean up at this base at the very least. He might even want to try and follow it up. Pretty evil choke there, though. 3 Thors plus 4 tanks.
Oh boy. Doesn't look like there's enough Banshees doing damage fast enough. They're coming out 2x2, but a lot of these tanks forced to run away. A bunch of the tanks over here protecting the fourth base, not participating in that earlier fight.
Yeah, these tanks are actually pretty exposed as well. You might want to just trade out with these ultras and try and remax from here. This could be the opportunity that soO's been looking for. If he can take down this bottom left base, he could simply win the game because this isn't going to be enough economy left from FanTaSy.
You know, I was saying, how does he engage against the FanTaSy army? I guess that's how you do it. You just make a gross amount of ultras and just go for it, because as we saw before, soO did force a huge amount of Vikings to come out to deal with the Broodlords, but then he immediately switched into a full-on ultra with some Roach Hydra to protect, of course with the Vipers in there as well.
Yeah, that's right. I just didn't think that was enough Banshees in this composition to start with either.
Yeah.
You really should have been
That's
adding a lot more in, you know. Sky Terran is so strong. So long as you got tanks to kind of cover for them as well. And looks like soO's considering going for the bottom left base, but he's not certain about it. Banshee's actually going to find a nice pick on a hatchery.
And SUNO kind of floundering around in the middle of the map, trying to decide where to go.
Yeah, some Hellions on the left side. Not going to find too much this time.
The Bane of soO. Seems like he's practiced at least how to deal with these Hellions this time. So.
Sure, he had a few nightmares about them after the game against Yoder. Oh man, they were ruthless that game. So soO might be giving a little too much time to FanTaSy at this point. Looks like he's going to start to make his move now that he's maxed out. But you know what? FanTaSy's slowly catching up. He's slowly building back his tank count. And he's got a pretty healthy Banshee count as well. Though he will be up against a lot of Hydras. Damn, that is a lot of Banshees. That's 8 Banshees so far. 13 tanks.
You know, at this point, I think soO might want to add in some Infestors. You know, get some Fungals on those Banshees, get your Hydras underneath, have your ultras in the front to tank the tank damage.
Yeah, I think that would be a fantastic choice. That, or you know what, he could just go for a massive Uniswitch after he resets the armies.
That too.
You know, at this point, the anti-air is very lacking.
Does he even have a Thor?
I don't think he even has a Thor. He's got 7 Vikings, and I think it's 1 Raven at this point. Yeah, 1 Raven. So a Mutaswitch would be devastating if he can find it after this, because he's got enough gas for almost 64 mutas at this point. That's going to win you the game, unless you bunch them all together and 2 Thors to kill them all. Here we go again. A lot of Banshees in position for this one, but that is so many Hydras to back them up. I think he might be able to just cruise on through this.
Yeah, he may be able to.
Oh,
Let's see
man.
if that tank count in the back can really help this out.
That tank count is insane. And beautiful positioning from them as well. Very nicely spread out. He destroys the army. He maintains that command center as well. And we're not going to see a Mutaswitch though. We are going to see more Ultra Hydra. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know that. He's gonna try to add some Corruptors, I guess, to deal with the air army of FanTaSy, but 9 is not going to be enough against this many Vikings.
Perhaps Broodlords. I
think so?
Maybe Broodlords.
But he's still got like a decent amount of Vikings in the
Yeah,
air.
he still probably has too many Vikings for this to actually be worthwhile. And soO's bank is getting a lot smaller very quickly. He's gonna have to make he's gonna have to do the true damage soon. He's gonna have to give him the true death. So I was gonna talk about TV shows. What's that called again? True Blood. That's
True
it.
Blood, yeah. You know, he may try to go for it. Just go for like the ultimate Zerg Death Ball without Infestors. Just go like Ultra, Broodlord, Hydra, I guess. Add some Lings in the front.
Yeah, if he can get rid of the Banshee count and he can get rid of the tank count and just try and camp the production line, he just simply wins the game from there. But that Banshee count is ruthless. It's 9 Banshees currently. Oh! But this could be a problem.
That's a huge problem. So many of these Banshees already going down.
Damn, that was 3 Banshees.
An attack is coming onto the Terran here in the middle, but that's just way too many tanks.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. And look at the supplies. I actually see FanTaSy a little bit ahead at this point. Though soO does have a very healthy bank still. Not for much longer though. You know, the bases are kind of starting to dry up. The first 3 bases he had are now completely gone, relying on his outer bases. And if the Banshees keep picking them off, you know, it's going to get a little ugly.
We now see 4 Vikings at a time coming out of FanTaSy. He wants to deal heavily with the air army. Seeing that many Corruptors in the air, he's like, okay, Now I just got to bolster my air army. But at the same time, soO, he's not really making a full transition into air. He just made those 9 Corruptors, I guess, to deal with the Banshees.
Yeah.
But he's still got a immense amount of Ultras and Hydras on the ground.
Yeah, he's really looking for the big engage on the ground once again. But in this position, FanTaSy doesn't really have to do anything. You know, he just has to just weather the storm and wait it out. Make sure that base to the right, which is why we see him pay so much attention to it. Make sure it doesn't get mined out from the Zerg, you know, because that's his next place to go. If he can get that, the game's going to last, you know what, another 10, 20 minutes simply because of that. Every base FanTaSy can get, it just extends the life of mech for that much longer.
By the way, we did see soO make a large number of Broodlords now. I think he's got 9. He's also making a bunch of Corruptors to help deal with the Banshees and the Vikings in the air.
But man, that is so many Vikings at this point. We're looking at 17 Vikings, 6 Ravens.
6 Ravens with a huge amount of energy.
And there is no infestors on the map whatsoever, which could be pretty vital in this kind of situation.
Yeah, man, I was talking about it before. I think he's going to need that eventually, especially as the Terran gets closer and closer to making that big air death ball that we see oftentimes out of mech.
Yeah, the more Ravens on the map, the harder these Corruptors are going to have to work to try and do any damage to this air. And look at this, another run by with these Hellions. You guys will get a look at it in just a sec.
soO takes these so seriously now, by the way.
He freaks out. His whole army.
All of the Ultras come back to deal with these 4. Even the Vipers are like, okay, everything's all right over here.
Exactly.
Just got to make sure.
All right. Finally, FanTaSy going to move out on the map just a little bit.
He was thinking about it.
Just a little bit. I was like, oh. No, it's too scary.
Poke out a little bit, test the water, put his toe in the water, be like,
He's towing the creep, essentially.
Not yet. Not yet.
It's too much creep at this point. He's still got to clear out a little bit more. He's got to use his Banshees to get rid of them.
Yeah.
There we go. Still no Infestors coming out. Just going to be a lot of Corruptors.
If we see these 2 air armies go head-to-head, I think FanTaSy wins easy. As long as the Hydras are not in play.
Yeah.
And generally in a head-to-head fight, the tanks will deal with the Hydras on the ground.
That's exactly it, right? He's going to be in position for it. This is going to be actually pretty ugly. Oh, but a big mistake using Abducts instead of Blinding Clouds on the tanks. I think a little bit of a blunder there. Let's see if it comes back to bite him. A lot of damage on these Ultras from the Banshees. And the Broodlords are getting eventually cleaned up from these Vikings, but is it going to be enough?
He's just trying to focus down all of these Broodlords,
wow.
and soO's got barely anything left. Just this air army. Everything on the ground has been totally cleaned up, and nothing to deal with the Terran air army.
The Banshees cleaned up all those Hydras by the end of it. Plus the AoE from the tanks helped out until they got evaporated.
And look at the supplies now.
Look at the supplies.
soO's going to try to transition into just like too many Corruptors. He's got to make only Corruptors now.
Oh, we've seen this before from soO as well. Remember that?
Yeah.
Let's see if we can do it. I mean, there's already a pretty ruthless, as I keep using that word today, I'm going to say insane amount of Vikings on the map still, you know. And as well as that, there is still Ravens to complement them. So it's going to be hard for these Corruptors to find the damage. And that 5th base is going to be the target of FanTaSy. Is what he wants next. He's clearing the creep for it. If he can get that down, get a planetary there, get some turrets there, he's going to be settled in for another 10 minutes at least.
Yep. We're just going to see soO once again just try to go for the exact same composition we've seen him do over and over again. Just Corruptor Broodlord. And I don't know if it's going to work out.
It's hard to say, you know. It really is, because what else can he really go against this composition? Maybe Ultra Hydra again, because the tank count is a lot lower this time around. But
well, I think he just needed to make that Muta switch a little bit earlier on.
Muta switch could have helped as well.
He had like the biggest bank, the bank of banks.
The bank of banks.
It's like the Swiss bank here for the Zerg, and he just doesn't go for it. Maybe I guess just not identify. He doesn't see the same thing we see, of course. We see, okay, an exact amount of 0 throwers.
Oh, hold up. Here we go again. Nice sort of concave on the Corruptors. And we do see some point defense rates go down. Is it going to be enough? We do see a lot of decent kiting as well from these Vikings. Obviously going to be one-shotting everything.
Yeah, just trying to get those one-shots. He actually flies over the missile turrets. soO just wants to get rid of this air army right now.
Oh, this might be an overcommittal from soO. There's still a lot of Vikings, so they are getting whittled down a little bit. There's not really any turrets on the map to help out these Vikings. Just a few.
Yeah, there were some. These Vikings, they just have to kite. They have to continue to go for this. That base over there actually is going to be forced to cancel out of the planetary. And again, the Vikings, a decent amount of them do survive. Thors are on the way.
Wow.
This is actually incredibly close.
I think it actually might have worked this time. There's still a lot of Corruptors left over. 15 with the army, and that is only about 10 Vikings now.
Yeah. We see FanTaSy just scrambling for any kind of anti-air that he can get right now. He's making Thors, he's making Vikings, and that's it. He just needs to deal with this air army right now.
Right here, right now. He's definitely resetting the Viking count, just flying over turrets, doing whatever he can to get rid of them. And there's a decent amount of turrets. You know, if he had that at the base to the right, he would have been immune to this kind of attack.
This game is about to get crazy because there's nothing back at home for soO to deal with this army that's pushing forward from FanTaSy except the Broodlords. And they're across the map. They're at the base of FanTaSy.
Yeah, and look at the bank. There's nothing left for soO to actually deal with it.
He's making one Muta.
Oh, and 8 mules go down to that new base, so FanTaSy is back in this in a big way.
Oh my god.
This might actually just be in his favor straight up. I don't think there's any way to deal with this army.
There's no way to deal with all these tanks with this across the map except that one Muta.
That one Muta. Well, it's going to be a very ugly base trade, at the very least.
I guess technically if there is no anti-air for FanTaSy, that Muta can eventually wipe out the army, but...
Oh, look at this. We're going to see some aggressive spine crawlers in the new base as well.
Some drones getting to work too at those mules.
Oh, Banshees. They're going to get caught out here. Can they get rid of the last? No, they can't get rid of the last spine crawler, so it might actually take down the base. Funnily enough.
Uh-oh, those Thors getting a decent amount of damage on the bunched up Corruptors, a bunch of them going down.
Oh, we're going to see the spine crawler destroy a command center.
Oh, no.
Where the 5th base was. Oh, boy, this got even weirder.
Now soO's going to take the base. That orbital is lifted. I think it can land for now. The Broodlords have moved out of position.
Yeah, he can drop a lot of mules there if he wants to. It's going to give him another big boost.
That one Muta is still doing damage to the Terran army back at the attack for FanTaSy.
It's got 2 kills already. He's going to get a 3rd on this tank. But, you know, the whole base of the Zergs has been destroyed at this point.
Yeah.
He'd actually be almost an elimination.
Whoa.
He's got to be so careful right here. It's a lot of racks. Is he actually going to use Marines against this many Broodlords? I don't know if that's actually a possible thing.
I don't know, but it may be his only chance, you know?
That's 3-3 Broodlings and 3-3 Broodlords. They're going to do a lot against unupgraded Marines. Marines are going to need about... Well, they're going to do about 2 damage to a Broodlord.
Look at this one Muta. What are we seeing?
Where are the... Is there actually no Vikings left?
There is like 1 or 2 Vikings on the map. He's making one at a time. But look at this. Now the Corruptors come back to protect the one Muta. And even Corruption on the tank to do that little bit of extra damage. Where are the Vikings right now?
I think they're at the bottom left. Yeah, they're at the bottom left base.
He's got 3.
3 Vikings so far. He's going to need a lot more than that. Oh, but you know what? He can actually go for the elimination. If we see these tanks go to the bottom and just deal with that hatchery, then there's only 1 left, and it's in the old main of FanTaSy's.
Yeah, these tanks are actually going the wrong direction. I don't really know where he's going, actually.
Yeah, FanTaSy using these Hellions actually to do damage here.
Yep, trying to slowly get to work.
The tanks are turning around.
Yeah, now he's identified that hatchery is there. The only other hatchery that's on the map here for soO is the one in the main base of FanTaSy.
Broodlords are coming in. He's really actually banking on this being the last hatchery, I think. Goes down. Not going to be the last one, though. 1 remains for soO at this point.
What other buildings does he have? Does he even have any other buildings?
I don't think he actually has any other buildings whatsoever. There's nothing left. It's simply that 1 hatchery. He doesn't have any more drones. He doesn't have nearly enough minerals left either. He has one for like enough minerals for an extractor, but if he actually no, he doesn't. He can't even make a drone to make an extractor at this point. He'll be 3 minerals short.
Right now we're seeing a bunch of SCVs actually long distance mine from that left side base to try to get enough minerals to make Marines. He's got actually exactly 6 Vikings in the air. He's got 1 more on the way, and he's gonna bank on unupgraded stimmed Marines to try to get underneath these Broodlords with that low amount of Vikings at the same time.
I don't see that's going to be a possibility. These Marines are going to be doing 2 damage a shot to these Broodlords because they are 4 armor at this point. All he's got to identify is where the last building is, and he will have a chance at winning this game.
He's got to move back those Marines. He can't afford to lose them. But now the Broodlord's getting a little bit farther ahead.
Right.
He's going to take out one.
And if he micros perfectly, maybe he can get some decent trades with the Vikings. Look at this, Broodlings alone are dealing with the Marines.
Yeah.
The power of 3-3 Broodlings.
The Marines just have to run away.
Oh, and I think soO still wins this game.
He sees the creep. He knows where the last hatchery is.
Oh, he must do.
But he somehow has to get over there.
But what does he have that can actually deal damage to it?
I guess he could land his Vikings.
Land his Vikings. He's got a Banshee in the top right that he completely forgot about as well.
Look at this. All the Vikings are going to go down. There's 2 Vikings.
Oh,
is he going to try to fly over there and land?
He should.
He's got 1 Viking.
He needs to
He
identify.
can do it. He needs to see it. He's not paying attention. Where's this Viking going? He's going to try to take out the... Oh, there's a Banshee on the map.
Yeah, there's a Banshee. It's coming down now. It's cloaked. Just find that building, FanTaSy. All you got to do is find the building, and you can very possibly win the game.
He sees it, but he doesn't see it.
Oh, he tried to kill the Overseer with that last Viking, I think. Oh, if he kills the Overseer with this
he
the
just needs
Banshee,
to kill the hatchery.
Kill the hatchery.
Just go over to the hatchery. It looks like he is flying that way.
Look at this. A Viking's going to try once again to deal with this Overseer. Oh, he got it with the Marines. There's no detection left.
There's no detection. He can go for the hatchery.
He does that. He has more than enough energy to do it too, I think.
Is that just going to be it? soO has nothing else?
There's nothing else. That's it. No Overseer left over.
No
and now
drones.
1 Banshee could very well win this game. Doesn't have enough energy.
Can he
is the
make a
next
drone
question.
out of this hatchery?
No, he can't. He can make a drone, but he can't make a building after the drone.
Oh my god. What is going on?
Oh.
He's got to bank on being able to see this. He needs the energy to run out, but there's just not going to be
He's gonna
that
have
little
enough.
energy. He's going to have enough to get this hatchery.
He's going to win the game from
It's
this
going to be really
Banshee.
close, though.
No, I think he's got it more than enough. He's
I don't know, man.
Oh, yeah. 50 energy left. He's got this. He's won the game in the most astounding way. Sniping the last Overseer with the last of his Marines.
He's trying to micro right now. I don't think he needs to do that.
He's having fun, I think. Here we go. Oh, there's one more building. Where is it?
Where's the last building?
I thought that was it. All that hype for nothing.
It's a spine crawler?
Oh.
Are you serious? He's going to run out of energy.
Oh, I didn't even see
13,
it.
12, 11, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. FanTaSy wins the game. He's going to win the game. He kills the final spine crawler with the Banshee with 3 energy left.
I cannot
What
believe.
was that, Moonblade?
I cannot believe that Spine Crawler was hiding behind the Broodlords that whole time.
We were totally fooled. We had the Observer PC. We couldn't even find it.
Oh my god.
What?
That actually happened.
Unbelievable.
Well, he still won the game, so we weren't completely wrong.
Oh, man. And guys, that was game 1. That was game 1 of FanTaSy versus soO.
52 minutes. Oh my god.
FanTaSy laughing to himself now. He can't believe what just happened.
That's Spine Crawler.
I mean, I guess for FanTaSy, he couldn't have even been 100% sure if that was the last building.
No, yeah, he had no way of telling because it was a hatchery. You know,
It was a hatchery,
It doesn't
yeah.
get revealed until a couple of minutes later.
And somehow he was able to identify the fact that that spine crawler was there.
Wow.
I'm just like speechless right now, Moonblade.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Every time we cast GSL, just insane games.
We
come
really
out.
do get a lot of good games over here. Oh man.
And that is so tilting for soO. It doesn't even look like he's listening to the coach.
Yeah, he has to be pretty angry after that one, you know.
I would be pissed.
It had 1 energy left and it killed the Spine Crawler. Oh.
And FanTaSy just comes into the next room. He's just like, yeah, soO, GG,
Sugo,
next
yeah.
game, no problem.
I'm pretty sure soO's not going to say anything, man. He is the angry Zerg after all.
Oh, I wouldn't say anything.
Oh, I'd be so salty.
I'd be cursing at FanTaSy in the chat room like, are you serious? You think you can beat me like that? You don't know what's coming to you in the next couple of games. And in fact, he doesn't say anything. Hands off the keyboard, takes a drink of his drink. He is pissed, man.
Yeah, man.
Okay, there we go. Finally, TZ. Good luck, have fun.
Doesn't say Sugo there. No good job by him.
Yeah. Goat TV's freaking out in the chat. He's like, Banshee had 3 energy left. What?
You should not be saying that to soO at this point. That's going to tilt him so hard. He's like, damn it, I know. Enough.
That's unbelievable. Guys, we're going to Iron Fortress for game number 2 between these 2 veterans of StarCraft.
That spine crawler. That's going to haunt me for a while.
Yeah, man.
I hate missing stuff like that. Oh.
It's all right, man. We're going to go into game number 2. Let's see how this one pans out between these 2 guys. Can soO bring it back after that tilting of a game? Let's find out on Iron Fortress.